Hey book lovers, it's Sarah, host of the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and we are about to have another conversation with another fabulous author. But before we get to that, I would once again like to talk to you about Linens and Hutch. Yes, I know that I've been raving about their sheets and their reversible down alternative comforters and their amazing pillow top mattress covers and their quilts and just everything. Their regular sheet sets. So wonderful. I have just been enjoying the heck out of it. I don't know that I can't remember the last time I got all new bedding in one fell swoop. I usually get it in bits and pieces. So I can't help but rave. And if you would like to experience this simple joy of new bedding, you are in luck because Linens and Hutch is currently offering 70% off of their entire website if you just go to linensandhutch.com and use the promo code GSMCBOOK when you check out. It's that simple. 70% off of their entire website plus free shipping using the promo code GSMCBOOK. Nothing could be easier. And how can they do this? Well, they cut out the middle person. They work directly with manufacturers and designers, and so they can pass those savings on to you. Their colors are classic and timeless. Their bed sets are amazing. You get 100 nights to try for free, and you can return them if they aren't to your satisfaction. So once again, go to linensandhutch.com. That's LINENSANDHUCTH.com and enter the promo code GSMCBOOK at checkout, and you'll receive 75% off their entire website, and you'll get free shipping. You should definitely go check it out.
Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is the podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
GSMC Book Review Podcast. I am your host, Sarah. We are brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and I am here to talk about books. Well, at least one definite specific book today, as I am speaking to an author about her debut novel. The author is Phyllis Melhaldo, and the book in question is called The Spa at Lavender Lane. This is, it's so catty and delicious and full of intrigue and all sorts of really great stuff. It's such a good escapist read if you want to just focus on someone else's problems for a while and ignore your own. For instance, maybe you're a podcast host and you have a sinus infection and bronchitis, and you just want to curl up under a quilt and read a book that will take you away from the fact that you have a sinus infection and bronchitis. Well, this might be the book for you. Let me go ahead and read to you the description from the back. From her elegant atelier office, Nadia Demidova discreetly monitors the arrival of her latest guests. Legendary doyen of the fabled Palm Springs getaway, she can always tell from the moment the women arrive which ones will be problems. This group will not disappoint. A burned-out Fifth Avenue retail executive, a striking former model and Chicago socialite, an overweight Texas housewife on the brink of her second divorce and her beautiful teenage daughter, and a CEO who, unhappy with recent plastic surgery, is secluded in her room. Fortunately, Madame Demidova can rely on her assistant director to help manage the herd, not knowing that this valued employee is poised to make an audacious move. Lust, ambition, secrets, betrayal, competition for the ownership of the world's premier spa, and a chance to snag the uber-eligible man who unexpectedly arrives on the scene are all on the menu at the spa at Lavender Lane. So again, that is the description of The Spa at Lavender Lane by Phyllis Melhaldo. And I love that. Lust, ambition, secrets, betrayal, competition for ownership. It's got it all. And then, despite the fact that it is a women's only spa, there's still drama around a man. Actually, a couple of men, because there is a younger man that is in the picture that works at the spa, and he's kind of a schmuck. There's always got to be those characters as well. But you get a lot of drama in this book, but it's drama that is not your own drama, and it's kind of fun to escape into the craziness of this. It's supposed to be this relaxing, amazing, healthy spa where you get away and you just get away from the world, get fabulous spa treatments, maybe jumpstart a new nutrition program or health regime, whatever it is that you need. And of course, it's anything but relaxing. There's all of this stuff happening during this group's time at the spa, and you get to learn a lot about the women. You get to learn a lot about their backgrounds and their relationships and the relationships that they develop with each other. Of course, there is some mother-teenage daughter drama. Oh, angsty teenager in this book, and her mother. But then you also get to watch as the women grow and develop those friendships, and just do the things that women often do when they are thrown into community. They either develop insanely deep relationships, or they are catty as heck to one another. That's a terrible thing to say, but I've lived in community enough to know that this can very easily happen. So it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface. It's hard to talk about a book like this because there is so much that happens, and it wasn't talked about in the description, so I don't want to give too much away. We'll let Phyllis talk a little bit more about what goes on in the book, and she can decide what she wants to give away in terms of spoilers. So let's go ahead and turn now to the interview. Once again, the book is called The Spa at Lavender Lane. The author is Phyllis Melhaldo.
Hi, Phyllis. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is fantastic. I'm excited.
I am excited,
too. A little kid
too.
at a candy store.
Ooh, I wish we had candy. We are here to talk about your new book. It's called The Spa at Lavender Lane. Before we get to the book, though, if you would just share a little bit about yourself so my listeners can get to know you, that would be wonderful.
Okay, well, I live in New York City, actually right across the street from Lincoln Center, which now is, closed because of coronavirus, which is so sad. But it's one of the world's great meccas, the Metropolitan Opera, the Philharmonic, the ballet, so forth. I grew up in Philadelphia, and I always wanted a career, and I moved to New York the minute I could. Got a job actually the first day looking at a small advertising agency. Interesting vis-a-vis women's equality in pay. I just had a conversation with someone who started around the same time I did, a man, and of course he earned twice as much as I did on our first job. So
of course,
of course. At any rate, I had a couple of jobs in the business, always focusing on fashion and beauty area, which is what was interesting to me. And early on, this is a true story. I was in a store, and there was a promotion for Estee Lauder products, and it was so lovely. And the lipstick was called Tender Lip Tint, and it was a beautiful kind of a mauvey pink. And I decided right then and there I had to work for Estee Lauder. Well, easier said than done. But I ultimately achieved my goal, and I was with the company for just about 20 years, working my way, starting out as publicity director, and I grew with the company. And when I left, I was a vice president with a huge, huge responsibility. I loved my job, but it was time to move on to part two of my life, which was geared for writing. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. My personal enthusiasms are music and art. I also paint. I'm a Sunday painter. Love music. Love my friends, which is a big theme in my book about friendship. and always had cats because of the kind of work I did. I traveled a lot, and I could never take care of a dog. But I now have a dog. I've had him for 7 years. Got him as a tiny pup, and I am like a little kid because I was very small when I had a dog the last time. So my man Mo, which is short for Mo Digliani, he is my muse and my best guy, and we're happy in coronavirus heaven here by ourselves.
Nice. Yes, and you actually
That's
even
pretty much it.
you even mentioned Mo in your
Yes.
acknowledgments.
Yes, I did because he is such a presence, and and Sarah, he's a character. He's really a character. I take him to Central Park every morning, and I see a whole bunch of the same people there every day, and we're all there with our dogs. And he is a standout guy. He announces himself the minute we get there. He carries on. There's a cute little girl dog he likes a lot. Um, but he is really he's the love and the light of my life. He's very special, and when people tell you how much they really love their dogs, believe them. It's a very special relationship. I can't quite explain it, but they find a place in your heart you did not know existed. When they look at you with those big brown eyes, oh my goodness.
Yep.
So that's
I have
that's Mo
dogs
and me.
for the first time myself. I never had dogs growing
Okay.
up, and
So
my husband talked me
isn't
into
it a different experience? It really
it is.
Yeah.
It is. They're, in fact, still in bed, in our
Yeah.
bed right now.
Oh, good.
Lazy little things, but it's their favorite place in the world.
Well, good. They deserve it to be comfy.
Yeah.
This doesn't often happen, but I'm actually going to take our first break before Phyllis describes the overview of the spa at Lavender Lane. Apparently, I was off on a tangent this time with questions, and, we had to talk about dogs and all of those wonderful things. So we are going to take that break, and when we come back, Phyllis will give an overview and her inspiration for the spa at Lavender Lane. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and my interview with author Phyllis Melhaldo about her debut novel, The Spa at Lavender Lane. Let's go ahead and return to that interview so that Phyllis can tell us more about this story.
As I said, the book is called The Spa at Lavender Lane. Can you give an overview of the story?
Okay. The spa is the premier luxury spa, and it's located in Palm Springs, California, and it is run by the owner, who is a petite woman, Russian-born, who's been in this country for many, many years. Nobody knows very much about her. She's elegant and knows what she's doing, and she runs the spa with kind of a velvet glove. And it's a 10-day stay. It's quite expensive. So her guests are somewhat, prima donnas and divas and that sort of thing. So I introduce the various guests, and it's what unfolds is the relationships that they form, the issues that they have, the problems that they overcome. There's the theme of friendship and second chances. I think the second chances thing is very very important nowadays because so many people are doing second careers or looking for new partners or what have you. Um, so that's a big theme in the book. And as I said, friendship, very, very big theme. And what happens there is a little, I'll have to say it, lust. There's secrets, there's betrayal. Um, and at some point, the spa becomes available for new ownership, and the women all want it. And it's what happens between them, the jousting for it. And then, of course, a man comes along, which is unusual because it's a female only resort. And of course, they all want him too. And this was my opportunity to create my perfect man on paper. And he's charming and wonderful. And a good time is had by most. By most. There's
By
one,
most.
well, yes, there's one character in there that everybody loves to hate. Her name is Mavis, and she is a former supermodel who is in her 50s now, and she bagged herself a very rich husband, but she's very bored staying home, and she is picking up on a theme of older models. We've had that going now for a couple of years, and she thinks it's time to make a big comeback and be the supermodel she once was. And it's her shenanigans and what she does. There is a fabulous face cream called the Quince Rejuvenating Cream, and it's the most miraculous cream you've ever wanted in your life, and it costs a fortune. And there's some activity going on with that. There is a woman who, in the beginning of the book, is hiding in her room because she had a facelift which she thinks is not very good. And the reason she had the facelift is she was the CEO of her family-owned nutritional supplement company, and the board of directors decided that she was looking a little haggard and they needed someone younger to be the face of the company. So she felt she had to fix herself up. So there's a whole theme going there too, because first of all, she didn't look bad. It was most of it was in her head, but how she grappled with that situation. And I won't tell your listeners what happens because I don't want to ruin the story for them. So that was Mavis. That was Eleanor. Then we have Charlotte, she's just a lovely, lovely character. She's a little overweight. She's from Texas, and she's going through a second divorce. And she has brought to the spa with her her young, rebellious, absolutely beautiful daughter. And I think a lot of mothers will recognize the jousting between mothers and daughters, especially at that age. So what happens with them, and there has to be a comeuppance, which there is. But the daughter, whose name is Lauren, who is quite beautiful, wants to be a model. So lo and behold, Mavis looks at her and says, this could be my ticket back in. They could do an older woman, younger woman approach to the skincare advertising. So there's a whole drama that goes along with that. Then there is Phoebe, who's English, the assistant director of the spa, who's devoted 20 years of her life there. She lives almost a hermetic existence, and she's totally devoted to the owner, Madame Demidova. But she does harbor a little resentment, feeling that, she's put her whole life into it, and she really wants a piece of the pie. So she's a very nice woman, but she, like with many human emotions, it's not 100%. She's got this little thing going. And then there's Tony. Tony is not me, but is the closest to me of any of the characters. She's a retail executive who is kind of tired. She's worked very, very hard, and she was also kind of negating the gnawing feeling that she had that she was missing something in life. And what she realizes that is she really wanted a child. And so how she goes about having that child is an interesting story. She and her gay best friend, who also wanted to be a parent, decide they would parent together. So she comes to the spa. She's pregnant, but she's only about 2.5 months along, and so she wants to keep that to herself because there is that thing about the first trimester that you're never sure that the baby will hopefully stay. So that's pretty much the cast of characters. As the spa, as you mentioned, is a character in itself, and it's quite a place. I would love to go there. I made it up. I made it up, but I have been to many spas, so the creation in my mind was informed, by all the spas that I've been to. And the reason I've been to many spas is the kind of job I had, which was just extraordinary. I can't begin to tell you. We could do a whole other show just on my job. It was incredibly glamorous, but extremely work intensive. And I invented 24/7. And I traveled a great deal, and it was very rare that I could get a real extended vacation. So what I was able to do sometimes, if I was away from home, have a Saturday and Sunday, and then maybe grab a Monday or a Friday and go to a spa. And that's where I learned about spas and saw that there were many, women who were exhausted from life or work or what have you who went to those spas. And I picked Palm Springs, I don't know, because I wanted to go there, I guess. I think there are a couple spas in Palm Springs, but not my Lavender Lane, no.
Right.
And
right.
indeed, when there's a wonderful bookstore there, I've been told, and when they were told of my book, they invited me to come and do a reading, which I would have loved to, but then. Whoops. Are you there?
I am here. I apologize.
Okay, that's okay.
The call just dropped.
All right. So the
you
Palm
were talking
Springs,
about a bookstore.
Yeah. They invited me to do a reading, which would have been great fun. But then the coronavirus hit, so that didn't happen. I didn't want to give too much away about the book because that would ruin it for readers. But that's kind of the gist of it. It's a lot of fun, Sarah. It's fun. It's there's some naughty parts. There's some very funny parts. But underneath all of that, these are real women with real issues. And as I said, there are two very strong themes. One is friendship, a couple of really nice friendships that form there. And the other is self-discovery and the realization that you can move on in life and you can do other things. And there's always an opportunity to do something else. There is a quote from The Wizard of Oz that I just love, and it's Glenda the Good Witch. And she says, "You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to find it for yourself." And I just love that. I think it says a lot. So those are my ladies at the spa. And I think when they leave the spa, they have renewed enthusiasm for what lies ahead, and that feeling of, well, it's going to be good. The romance, I will let that go, because there are romances in there, more than one, with the same man. Yeah, Peter, my dream man on paper. So.
Yes. Now, when the book ends, there's some space there for returning to Lavender Lane. Is that something that you want to do?
I hoped I left that open. I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But so many readers have written to me and asked me, "Oh, is there going to be a sequel? I need to read a sequel. I need to know what happens. and that is so wonderful, and that, to know somebody so interested. So I'm hoping there will be. I don't know what it'll be called. I'm calling it, when I'm working on it, Spa 2, but I'll come up with a better name. Except Spa 2. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not the most original.
No.
Yeah.
That's my working title, Spa 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, normally I ask about the main character. This book is fun because it really is an ensemble cast.
Right.
So, you've got the one character that, as you mentioned, everyone loves to hate, and oh my goodness, she is a piece of work.
Yes, she is.
Are there any of the characters that you think might resonate with readers more than others?
A lot of people like Charlotte, the one who has problems with her daughter. She's very sweet, and life has not gone the way that she thought it would. Not that it does for everybody, and people really, really like her. Tony will resonate with so many women who, are then worried about the clock running out in terms of having a child, and there are a lot of women who kind of threw themselves into their careers for leaving other parts of their life to go by the wayside, and I think she will resonate with them. There are women who will resonate with that, getting older, not liking the way they look, feeling left out, feeling overlooked. There's kind of something for everybody in there. I don't know.
In terms of the spa,
yes,
it seems very elaborate, very lush, very beautiful.
Yes.
Do you know what it looks like completely, or does it sort of evolve as you write? I'm kind of picturing like a Harry Potter staircase moving, or
well,
I need this.
One of the things in the thinking about part 2, and I had to put part 2 aside for a reason I can tell you later, because it's another book that I'm working on. I'm thinking that the spa will. Madame Demidova owned a huge amount of property, and a lot of it wasn't developed, which was part of the beauty of it, that you just had this vast landscape of wonderfulness. But I have an idea that I won't give away of some addition or something else to add to the attractiveness of the spa, the physical spa. And actually, what I have in the way it looks in my head is probably different from what one would find in Palm Springs. I've only been to Palm Springs actually once, and in all the photographs that I've seen, it has a rather 1950s modern kind of sensibility about it. I think it was the refuge of a lot of movie stars in its day. But the house in my head doesn't look like that. It's almost New England, because it's big house. I don't know. I guess I have to describe it more next time around.
Or just let people imagine it as they will.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I will leave you to your imagination of what this spa may or may not look like. And when we come back, Phyllis will be talking about her inspiration for the story. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. I was thinking during the break about spas and wondering if you've ever been to a spa like the one that Phyllis describes in this book. I have not to one where you go and stay there. I've been to day spas a couple of times. My fabulous auntie, whom I lived with in Texas for 3 years, and then we've been very close ever since, has taken me very generously to a few different spas in various places that both of us have lived, and it has been lovely. But that was just, for a few hours here and there. I've never been to one where you stay at them. I wonder if you have. I would love to hear about your experiences. But back to the interview, and we will go ahead and talk to Phyllis about her inspiration for this particular story.
What was your initial inspiration for writing the book?
When I left my job, I knew that I wanted to write. That was the reason that I left. And it was I made this huge leap because, who would give up that job? Really, it's a kind of job that women, salivate for. But I did want to write, and I had been wanting to write for a long time. And to, decompress, I actually went to Canyon Ranch. And while I'm there, kind of relaxing and getting all the wonderful things one gets at a place like that, I thought to myself, wow, this might be a really good vehicle or a cauldron, a place that I could set characters to. And that was really, really how it started. And I didn't have any idea who the characters would be. And when I started to write, I just thought, well, what kind of women would come to a place like this, or a place that's even fancier in my imagination? And that's pretty much how it happened. But then I had to put it aside. I had family responsibilities and what have you. And then I started to write again. And then I put it aside because another project came my way. Which is a very, very, very different. It's a more serious book. It's a true story based on the lives of close friends of mine. And I worked on that book for 4 years. And I had to do a great deal of traveling for that. It involved going to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Italy a couple of times. And that book was, after all of the time and effort I put into it, the book was put aside for some legal reasons. Then I went back and did the spa. And just as I was about to really get into Spa 2, this other book is now possible. And I'm doing an edit now on it. So that will come out before. It's called Chasing Life, and it's a true story of a young woman doctor who was brilliant, and her husband. Their names were Desiree and Rob, and they met on Desiree's first day in college. She was 17 and Rob was 19, and they had this charming, lovely love story. And she went on to get her MD and her PhD. Brilliant, brilliant young woman. And she was barely into medical school when she learned that she had breast cancer. And this is the story about how they dealt with it and how the love and devotion of her husband enabled her to achieve her goals and to achieve her dream. And she had a remarkable resiliency and spirituality and ability to find joy in everything, even though she had this miserable disease in her body. She did ultimately pass on, not before she achieved amazing things. She became, at 38 years old, the head of palliative care at New York Hospital, which was extraordinary. And all of her schooling, none of her classmates even knew she was ill, because I interviewed so many of them. And even though she does pass away, the story is not sad, because she teaches so much about the joy of living and gratitude and love and their love for one another and the journey that they took together was extraordinary. I had the privilege of knowing her and being friends with her and him, and he and I are very close. He's like a brother at this point, and I'm thrilled that and he's a wonderful, smart, personable guy and a great speaker. So, Sarah, even as you and I are on the phone, he is in Italy now, I think, doing a podcast. not about the book. He's become a life coach, and he has so much compassion and so much to offer in terms of lessons in life. So. It's just funny how life turns out. So I'm very excited. I wrote the book with him in his voice, which I didn't think I could ever do, write like a man. But we were step in step together. I would interview him, he would talk, I would write, he would read it and tell me if it was right. We'd laugh, we'd cry. It was quite an experience. And as I say, I think of Desiree all the time. If I have a hard day, I think about her and what she taught me. And she was just, this girl had so much going for her. She was beautiful and sweet and funny and smart beyond. She went all through medical school and got her PhD, all on grants. In the last few years of her life, they traveled a great deal. They went to India 6 times, where she fed the poor and worked with medical students there. Just exceptional. So I hope when that book is done that people will read it and learn from it, because, as I said, she had a lot. She had many gifts to share, and he's divine. I adore him. He floundered around for a while, as you can imagine, after going through that. I have to add one more component to that. When she found out that she had breast cancer, she didn't want to know any of the details because she felt that it would impede her from going forward with her goals. So she asked him, Rob, to be the go-between with the doctors, even though she was a medical person herself. So that added another dimension to it. It was very different. And of course, and he was on the fast track in the financial world. So there's a lot of dimensions to this story, but a lot of it is about the great love and, frankly, the way I look at it, his sacrifice. He doesn't feel that he sacrificed. He's grateful to have had that relationship for so many years. But he did afterwards, he sank, as one would when you lose a spouse so young. But we're looking at the bright side. He's living a good life now. He's helping other people, which is wonderful. and he's very excited about this book. So I'm in trying to do the edit now, just to bring it a little up to date and get it ready to show to my agent. So, and then I will go back to those ladies at the spa, because they're a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of how am I going to get them back there. I do have 1 or 2 new characters to introduce, but the
Sure.
main ladies have to be there. Mavis, that terrible person, has to be there, and Eleanor has to be there, and Charlotte has to be there, and Tony has to be there, and Phoebe now is more important because she's running the place.
Yeah.
So she will be a stronger character going forward, and she has, of course, issues of her own. And I'm trying to figure out if I give her a romance or not. She's been living a nun's life for all these years. But where's she going to find a guy at the spa? Aha!
Well,
I'm thinking of one.
One showed up in this book.
Yes, I'm thinking of one. So that's the fun part, coming up with all this stuff. It really is fun. I said I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, did you? I know that you drew from some of your own experience. What about research for this book? Did you do a lot of research?
Actually, I really didn't, to be honest. I don't know how good that is, but I know so much about the beauty business, and from my years at Estee Lauder, I did go to Saratoga Springs because they have the mud baths there, which I haven't put into this one. I think maybe that's coming in the next one. And I have a picture of myself in this bathtub of dirty water. I think, how in the heck did I ever get into that bathtub? I mean, it's really gross. But it's supposed to be, filled with all these healing minerals and stuff. So if I go forward with that theme, there'll be some research, because there's a lot of interesting background about mineral springs, and Native Americans believed in the healing powers and all of that. So you got the secret out of me. That's what's going to be in the next book about these healing waters. The research, and then I, of course, had to read more about Palm Springs, because, as I said, I've really only been there one time. Mm-hmm. But in terms of models, I worked my whole career with models. In terms of Tony's business in retail, I always had to work with retailers, because I did promotions in department stores. And in terms of the supplement lady, I've been taking tons of vitamins for years, so I know a little bit about that business. Who else am I missing? The models, the supplements, the retail. Those are the main things. I mean, really, my research is from my experiences for the most part, I would say. Mm-hmm. And my imagination. That's the most fun. I sometimes wake up from a dream, and the dream is means nothing. I sort of don't even remember what it is, but I'll wake up with an idea, mm-hmm. which is kind of fun. Of course, Mo wants to go out. He doesn't care about my ideas. He needs to have his first walk of the day, so I have to jot it down real fast. So, no, that's pretty much the extent of the research. I don't know how people write historical novels. I mean, I guess now with the internet, it's not that hard. But I went to graduate school, and I remember you had to go into the stacks and research. I mean, there was no such thing as Google. Right. You had to dig through the card catalog. Right. It's so funny. One of my family responsibilities was looking after my aunt, whose name was Sarah. I love her dearly, and she had no children. I was like an adopted daughter. And I remember showing her, bringing a laptop and showing her Google. She couldn't believe it. What do you mean you can put in a question and you get an answer from who? Exactly. I had a similar conversation once at a job I was at, and there was a woman in my office, and she
I don't even remember what question she had, but I typed it into Google, and she just looked at me and she said, "You can ask it questions."
It's extraordinary. I'm flummoxed by a lot of technology. I was terrified when you told me we were using this Uber conference. All I know about Uber is a car you call.
I know. It's so weird that they have the same name. Yes.
So I know how to get on a Zoom. I don't know how to host a Zoom, but I know how to get on a Zoom.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have learned about Zoom in the last 9 months or so.
I'm in a writers group, and of course we used to meet in person, which I always enjoyed, and now we do it on Zoom. It is so weird. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you.
Seriously, I love the tangents that interviews sometimes take when we just go off the topic of the questions and chat about other stuff. That makes me so very happy. It is time for our last break of the podcast. When we come back, Phyllis will share some of her advice for aspiring authors. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast and the conclusion of my interview with author Phyllis Melhaldo. Before the break, we were talking about technology and the challenges it can present, and now we will return to that interview and talk about her advice for aspiring authors.
Do you have advice for aspiring authors from your own experience?
Yes, writers group. It's a great segue. Please find a writers group. They're all over the place. If you're in a university town, you should be able to find one, or these meetups that are all over, or ask friends, or just Google. There you go, Google writers group in Montana. Isn't that where you came from, Montana?
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
And the reason for the writers group, I think, is twofold. Actually, the reasons are: one is it gives you a deadline. You know, if it's your turn to present work, you have to do it, or else you'll have egg on your face. But equally as important is you learn so much from reading other people's work and critiquing it. And you learn so much when you hear the critiques of other members in the group, not only of your own work, but of everybody's work. You learn about, just from the doing and the listening, to plotting and structure and syntax. And a lot of people, frankly, aren't that great at grammar or what have you. Storytelling is more important than anything. The rest you can learn. I think storytelling is something you have to kind of experience. It almost has to be in your blood. But I can't stress writers groups enough. And the other thing is just keep going. Look at it as an opportunity to express yourself and put your dreams on paper. One of the things I love about writing, I love the music of language, and I love trying to find just the right word. That's almost like a puzzle sometimes. It's great fun. And all this stuff you hear about, you've got to get up at 4:00 in the morning and write for an hour every day. That never worked for me. I have too busy of a life, always had. And when I was working those long hours, I used to write on weekends. If I was in town, which I was most of the time, And while all my friends were out partying, I was home writing, but it was my choice. That was really, really what I want to do. So one of the other quotes that I keep on my bulletin board is, I think the first writing book that I ever read was by someone named Phyllis Whitney. This was years ago. And she said, never mind the rejections, the discouragement, the voices of ridicule. There will be those too. Work and wait and learn, and that train will come by. If you give up, you'll never have a chance to climb aboard. And it's brown now. It's been up there for so long. And I sure had my rejections and ups and downs. I had one agent and she passed away. And then I got another agent and she, it was another book that I wrote some time ago. I thought it was being bought by a big publisher, and they did the publisher's lunch and all of that, and then that went away. I've written screenplays. I had one optioned, and I had the lunch at the Polo Club in Beverly Hills. I thought that was going to happen, and that went away. So I've just stuck to it, and now my horses come in. It wasn't easy to get an agent. I did get one, and she's believed in it from the get-go. She liked it, and saw that was after rejections. I guess another answer to that question, you've got to kind of be immune to rejection and resilient. Just like Glenda said, you've got the power, go for it. But it takes, sometimes you say, wow, what's the point? I should just be laying around eating bonbons. But that's not what I really want to do. This is what I want to do, and I'm happy that I've been given the opportunity to do it. I'm fortunate, I believe. So,
and Mo wouldn't let you lie around eating bonbons anyway.
No, my goodness, he'd want the bonbons too, and chocolate is not good for dogs.
No, it's not.
No, thankfully for him, I get my exercise because I take him out, 3 times a day. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my sweetheart.
So when you take time to read for yourself, do you have favorite authors or genres that you like to turn to?
Well, my reading time is limited, and it's hard for me to read fiction while I'm writing because I'm living in my world, my own personal world, and then when I'm writing, I'm living in spa or Abu Dhabi or Rome was the other book, Chasing Life. So it's hard to be in another universe. So whereas I would consume, like maybe a dozen novels a year, if I can get 1 or 2 down now, it's a lot. The most recent one I read was Why the Crawdads Sing, and that's about a world so totally different, about this young woman who lives in the swamps, and I enjoyed that. And right after that, I read Dutch House by Ann Patchett. For 2 reasons. One is that I like anything she writes. I thought Bel Canto was kept me on the edge of my seat several years ago. She's a wonderful writer, and it also, she writes about this area where I lived when I was at home in Pennsylvania. So I thought, I wonder why, because she's, I believe, from the South. And then I realized that I have not read any, I'm embarrassed, I've not read any African American literature, and I need to do that. And I've actually read a review of a book that I noted called Homegoing, about several generations of women, that sounded very interesting to me. And then there's a nonfiction by a man named Coates. I believe it was a bestseller, where stories that he has, or conversations he has with his son. And I love some historical fiction. One of the best books I ever read was by a woman named Sarah. There you go. Sarah Dunnant. It was about an artist in Renaissance Florence. It was fascinating. I just loved it. So, and then I love thrillers. I love the Da Vinci Code and books by Steve Berry and whatever. The book review section is delicious. You find something in there that you really want to read. And it's so easy now with Kindle, although I must say I do prefer hardcovers or paperback, something I can hold in my hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although Kindle is definitely easier when you travel,
yes,
but I understand
absolutely.
about wanting the physical book. Yeah.
But I don't know if I have any more room in my house for books. I have books everywhere, under the bed, in the corner. I mean, I have built-in bookcases. I can't bear to give away a book. I mean, I
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Phyllis, I know you have a website, so if you can share your website and where people might be able to interact with you on social media, if you're on social media at all.
Absolutely. My website is phyllismelhaldo.com, and I am on Facebook, Phyllis Melhaldo Author, and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, Phyllis Melhaldo, on both of those. I do have a, what's the other one? The one the president likes. Twitter. I have a Twitter account, but I frankly don't know how to use it, and I don't understand it, so I don't pay very much attention to it. But I am regularly on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And my website. There's some fun photographs on my website from my days at Estee. Yeah. Oh, you went? You looked?
Yeah,
I have. I'm glad you did. So funny stories here. I recently posted that picture of Bruce Boxleitner and myself. He was that beautiful, handsome TV star back in the day, and he was the Lauder for Men man. We had a fragrance, and part of my job, in addition to everything else, was to take him around the country, where women absolutely threw themselves at him. I mean, I was like his bodyguard. So there's that picture, and I wrote on Facebook, I said, no, that isn't the cat that swallowed the canary. It's just me on the arm of this, this handsome guy. So somebody writes in, whoa, you really had a hard job. They didn't
you might have
what else I was juggling. Oh, my God. They had no clue. All the publicity for all the fragrances and all the skin creams and all the makeup and all the Lauder family things. And, oh, my God. And here I am, looking like I had not a care in the world on the arm of this gorgeous guy. Well, it was one of the perks of the job, I have to say.
Sure.
So,
well, we have talked about quite a lot of different things during our time together, but is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to mention about the book or writing, or anything that we have not touched on?
Just that I hope people read the book and have fun with it. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be an escape. Yes, there are these underlying themes, but nonetheless, I think it's fun, and just hope people read it and enjoy it. I'm very heartened by the responses I've gotten. Oh my gosh, it's been so great, so great. Somebody wrote, what did she say? That she loved it, and she laughed, she cried, and there were parts that made her just want to stand up and cheer. I loved that one.
That's a good one. I agree.
Yeah, that was a good one. There are many really good ones, and that's because you don't know. Everybody loves their baby. I think it's a good book, but I wrote it.
Right. Yes.
So I didn't have a clue what would happen when it got out there, and that's scary. That is darn scary.
Sure.
So now I got all these 5-star likes and reviews, and then somebody comes along and gives me 3.5, and I felt really bad. I had 99% 5 stars and one little guy, and that's the one I'm thinking about. So I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And at least it was 3.5 and not 1. I mean, you know.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But overwhelming response has been very, very positive. So
that's wonderful.
That I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you asked to speak. I really appreciate it. And I thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And, you know, I know that Mo is having his own spa day today so that he's not interrupting yours. So tell Mo thank you for sacrificing and having to go to the spa.
I will, because trust me, if he were here, you'd know about it.
Nice.
The slightest noise he carries on. So.
Yeah. Well, Thank you so much. I really appreciated it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Once again, and as always, thank you so much to Phyllis for taking the time to talk to me about her book. Again, it is called The Spa at Lavender Lane. It is hilarious. It is poignant. It is definitely escapist. It's kind of everything that you need right now to just get away from a lot of stuff. I read at the end of the last episode one of the quotes from the back, and the one on the front is just as great. It's from Lynn Lee, the author of The Perfumed Plume, and she says, "What a great, fun read. The characters are just wonderful, and if I may say, she lets it all hang out." So there's another perspective on the book. Yeah, it's just fun. And then another comment is about how you get to be a fly on the wall, and you really do. You get to see all of these relationships as they play out in their loving and caring and friendly and catty and manipulative ways. So much going on in the book. So definitely check it out. As always, thank you so much to you, my listeners. I love hanging out with you during our times to talk about books and to listen to authors talk about their books. Our next episode will be a returning author, and I'm very excited about this one. The author is Edward Willett. He was on the show just about a year ago. He will be here to talk about his third book in his World Shapers series. This one's called The Moonlit World, and I don't even know where to start. It's just so much fun. There are vampires, there are werewolves, but not exactly how you might expect. There are pop culture references like crazy, and Edward's always really fun to talk to. So join me for that episode as we speak with Edward Willett about the Moonlit World. In the meantime, I hope you are having a good week so far. I hope that you are finding time to escape into books. As I always say, I hope you are finding time to get yourself lost in a good book, even if it's only for 5 minutes a day. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and join me next time. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.